Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Good morning, Bix Weir. RoadToRoo.com with your morning horns. These your sip of chaga coffee. Okay, I released part one of my three-part discussion with the U.S. Mint about the Silver Eagle program. You can find that on my YouTube channel. Or if you want all three parts, go right to RoadToRoo.com. I just posted all of them on the front page of the public road. So it's all free. Go check it out. It's so important to understand what's going on at the Mint and all around the world in silver. This is a perfect storm that's been brewing for, well, since they started rigging the silver price in the mid 1800s. That's when the English basically got China addicted to opium to get all the silver that they were paying out. They were paying out silver for all these teas and spices and silks. And the monarchy said, "What are we doing? What are we doing? All the silver's leaving the coffers of our people. Let's go get the entire country addicted to opium and make them pay silver for it, and then we'll get all the silver back." That's what started the Opium Wars. Back in the there was two large wars back in the 1850s, and then England won, obviously, because they have been rigging silver ever since. And there's different operations that have gone on since then, kind of like in the U.S. right now, what's going on with the silver rigging operations coming out of the COMEX and the LBMA, and all the regulators are in on it, and the administration's in on it, and everybody's in on the rig. So free markets have not been seen in silver in over 170 years, and I think we are about to understand why. And the reason why is that, one, it's the canary in the coal mine, much more than gold. I mean, if you think about it, who owns all the gold? The bankers own all the gold. The central banks own all the gold. Governments own all the gold. Who owns all the silver? It used to be the people, and I think the people are waking up to, hey, we're more important than governments. Okay, just think about this. We know that many of the large banks have been hoarding and stocking up on gold. You can see it in all the numbers. JP Morgan, obviously the largest. But all kinds of banks, because it's a tier one asset now. Andy Sheckman's talked about that a lot from Miles Franklin. By the way, Miles Franklin is kicking ass and supplying silver to the freedom lovers, if you ask me. So yeah, get your silver from Miles Franklin. info@milesfranklin.com. Send them a message and say, hey, do you got any silver left? He tries to keep his inventories as full as possible. So I always say, buy from inventory. Number one, start with your local coin shop, because it's important that you make those relationships. Those are the people you're going to be handing in your 1 ounce silver coin for the $2,000-$3,000 that they're going to give you in U.S. dollars. When you want to go buy, something fun. That's why we invest, right? So we can either protect our value over time as they destroy the dollar, or to buy something fun, like a house. Get a 100 ounces of silver and go buy a house type of thing. Yes, it will get to that point. If you don't think so, what's 100 ounces of gold right now? Say 2,000 times 100. That's $200,000. $200,000 will buy you a house in certain places. So, I mean, gold and silver are literally going 1-to-1. That's how important the silver rig is. They can't let the silver rig go. Why do you think they haven't let the silver price rise from its 1980 high of $50? It's still half of what it was in 1980, whereas gold is more than double what it was in 1980. And they're both rigged, but one's more importantly rigged. And by the way, when the banks crash, they're going to have to sell their most liquid assets first. What are the bank's most liquid assets? Cash, bonds, and gold. Yes, they will be selling all their gold. They have to sell all their gold if everything else is crashing. I mean, if we did have freely traded markets in gold, you would see the gold price get destroyed and the silver price go through the roof, because the banks don't own any silver. JP Morgan did, but it got rid of it through a Bank of America lease. I think it ended up in three places. Warren Buffett, Elon Musk. Elon Musk absolutely has to have silver for all his companies to run. And the last back at the U.S. Mint. Now that's what I want to talk about. So these three discussions I had were discussions with the head of Silver Eagle sales at the U.S. Mint. Jack Sermon, great guy. And I got in touch with him by calling customer service at the U.S. Mint. So it was a customer service call. And he said, I'm not going to say anything that's not known. And it's true. He didn't. He's not in the loop. You don't tell a sales guy exactly what's happening behind the scenes. But he's distraught that his Silver Eagle program that he's worked at for 35 years is being destroyed by the current administration. He doesn't flat out, yeah, he does flat out say it. He talks about Democrats and Republicans running the show. He's been there 35 years. He's seen it all. But he also has admitted to 5 crimes that the U.S. Mint is doing, and everybody knows it. They aren't making enough Silver Eagles to meet demand. He said, and this would be the guy I know, the guy who sells to the authorized participants or the authorized purchasers. He said demand's probably between 30 and 40 million ounces. And yet they're only making less than 15. Now, he did say in these discussions, and you got to go listen to all 3, he did say that the U.S. Mint would start making a little more because they got about 4 million ounces they pulled out of their hat because people are starting to notice what the hell is going on at the U.S. Mint. And when he said that, he said, you'll see it happen on the U.S. Mint production numbers on the website. And so we did this discussion on May 30th. And look what happened. 900, 1,500. Or 1 million, 900,000, 1.5, almost 1.6 million. And look, in June, already 2 weeks in, 725, that's going to be what, 1,450. So what he said was exactly what happened in the future. So you know you're not, well, I know I'm not talking to anybody that's trying to pull my chain because I call the Mint. This is the Mint customer service line. It's insane. This is insane. But listen to all three parts. I comment here and there, but basically you can get the gist from the discussion. There's all kinds of things that are happening at the Mint that should not be happening. One, the Mint shouldn't make any profit off silver and gold bullion eagles. That's illegal. It says right in the law what you can sell these silver and gold eagles for. And it's only the cost of production. And by the way, yes, they have to buy blanks at any price. At any price. And people say, no, Bix, there's another law that says they have to pay fair market value for the silver. Yes, of course they do. That is a law. Not that they follow the law. But where does the U.S. Mint source the silver to make the silver eagles? At the COMEX. They take delivery on the COMEX. And then they give those 1,000-ounce bars to Sunshine Mint to process. Now, that's a big conspiracy right there. Why isn't procurement talking to every mint? Oh, yeah, well, we have quality issues at this one, and it's all bullshit. Sunshine Mint's making, I think Tom Power said, like 90 million blanks a year now. The U.S. Mint is required by law to buy every single one of those at any price. That's the law. They have to pay any price for the blanks. And I know it's not. Ventures Gibson, the head of the Mint, would say, well, that doesn't make money. Your job is not to make money. As a matter of fact, your hedge book lost $112 million because they were naked shorting into the COMEX price to keep the price down during the silver squeeze. Please explain that to everybody. So I go check out this discussion. You will love it. Go to roadtoruta.com. All 3 interviews are there. All 3 segments. It's the same interview. We talked for about an hour and a half. But so yeah, the Mint, as you can clearly see right here, they're going to do 14.5 this month. 1,405,000. Still a third of what they should be doing. A third of what they should be doing. And they did do just 2 years ago. 2 years ago when David Ryder was the head of the Mint, they did 30 million, and then over a half a year, even when they were changing out for the new design of the Silver Eagle, they still did 28 million, even though they were closed for a few months. That's when Ventures Gibson came in and shut down the program. Ventures Gibson is a Democrat operative, head of HR for 30-year career, and then gets put as head of the Mint from Biden administration. Why? And then stops the Silver Eagle program. Anyway, go check it out. Big news in silver. the largest silver mine in the world, is now shut down. It's like you can't make this stuff up. The road to Ruta theory is happening before our very eyes. You're going to see a whole bunch of mines and governments shutting down silver production. Why would any government in their right mind give away the most precious asset they have in the ground for $24 an ounce? It is insane. Mexico has been raped by the silver stealers, as Charles Savoy calls them, the silver stealers. Absolutely. Mexico is going to shut down all mining. Actually, they won't shut down mining. They'll shut down exports. They'll nationalize the mining. Yeah, if you own silver shares, silver mining company shares, get rid of them as fast as possible. This is the end game for fiat money. There's no mine on the planet that's going to, even in the United States of America, we're going to nationalize them. Imagine all the banks go down and there's no money in the U.S. Do you think they'll nationalize what they can get their hands on? Absolutely. It won't even matter to you because the stock market won't even be working. And who owns shares of those mining stocks? They've been rehypothecated 100 times at your broker-dealer level. Another huge problem that can be fixed by Veritasium, by the way. Peer-to-peer transactions. So we got a lot of problems to go through, and we're seeing it all the time. When the number one biggest mine in the world shuts down, silver mine in the world shuts down, you know something's going on behind the scenes. So, Newmont Mining announced today it has suspended operations at the company's Pincicuato mine in Mexico over a wage dispute. Basically, the Mexican people are saying, I want a bigger chunk. If you're gonna rig the prices to keep them so low, I want a bigger chunk of that money. Yesterday, the National Union of Mine and Metals Workers of the Mexican Republic notified Newmont of a strike action. In response, Pincicuato operations were suspended at Newmont. Newmont claims the union is demanding an increase in the uncapped profit-sharing benefit negotiated through collective bargaining agreement from 10% to 20%. Pincicuato is the largest employer in Zacatecas, Mexico, with a direct workforce of more than 5,000. Pincicuato is the world's second largest silver mine, which had production of 30 million ounces in 2022. So 30 million ounces gone. So basically, what the mint is withholding from the people, probably 30 million ounces of Silver Eagle sales, I think. I think that sales of Silver Eagles will be well north of 50 million once they provide enough to the community. That would you buy a Silver Eagle if the markup was only like $3 or $4? Of course you would. People are buying them at $14, $15 premiums. So that's where we are. It is insane what is happening right now, but it is the biggest gift to you. You still have a chance to get physical silver in your own possession and beat them at their game. Beat them at their game. Beat the criminals at their criminal rigging game. This is the 5-year chart for silver. You know, what I find very interesting is what happened right in here. It was January of 2021 that we had the short squeeze, the Wall Street silver guys, and all that was going on. One company bought up 1/3 of SLV, which is crazy, right? Private Investors Group. I've talked about them quite a bit. They own 33% of SLV at this one time. And they don't have to declare a lot because of the way they're structured. So I think that was the good guys helping try to take out the silver riggers. But Rustin Benham, the head of the CFTC, got with JP Morgan and Bank of America and Yellen and said, okay, what can we do? Let's take all the JP Morgan physical silver that they stole over those years that we busted them for already, and we'll lease it out to Bank of America, who will do structured deals with people. And that way we can suppress the price with that leased silver. So they're selling leased silver. So that now there's two claims on silver that will never come back. Now, I think it was a fixed back end that was negotiated because JP Morgan, the same year that they had to pay $920 million, booked a $1 billion gain in their gold and silver book. $1 billion, never even close. Every year they'd book $10 to $20 million. But that year that they got busted, they booked a $1 billion gain. Now, with a lease contract that has a fixed back end, like a guaranteed purchase price. It's like a lease car. That counts as a sale, and you have to book the revenue then. So is that what happened? Probably, most likely. That's where all that silver has come from in the last, what, three or 4 years. Also, I want everybody to understand the COMEX is a futures and options exchange that has nothing to do with real silver. Matter of fact, they don't even facilitate deliveries much anymore. Most of the deliveries go to Europe, go to England, to the LBMA. That's where people will buy on the COMEX at a cheap price and then execute an exchange for physical and EFP, exchange for physical, and then take delivery of it on the LBMA. Now, some of the LBMA, you can actually take delivery in the USA. So if it's USA companies, it makes it easy on them. But yeah, here's an interesting one. Here's 5 million ounces just yesterday. It's called an EFR, which is an exchange for risk, is a privately negotiated simultaneous exchange of an exchange futures position for a corresponding OTC swap or other OTC instrument. Now remember, it is Bank of America and JP Morgan that are hiding what's going on in the OTC market, so most likely that has to do with this lease game that they play. So there you have it. But massive amounts. But here's the real deal. Look, nobody's taking delivery of silver, of physical silver anymore. And yet the warehouses are being emptied out. I mean, this month, it's not a delivery month. Next month is the delivery month. But look at this. Even JP Morgan customers, that's the proxy for JP Morgan, since they're still on a deferred prosecution agreement that ends in September, by the way. September 20, I think the 20th or the 22nd. Keep an eye on that date, because the good guys are going to take down the silver cabal before then. It might happen tomorrow. It might happen in 3 months. I don't know. But I think it's going to happen. Could happen on September 11th like they did in 2008. I don't know. I'm not in their back room, but I can see what they're doing. Everybody can see what they're doing now. So, yeah, the JP Morgan customer account is supplying and taking this. I mean, there's just nobody playing in the COMEX silver market anymore because they know it's a fraud. But if you can buy silver cheap on the fraud exchange and then get delivery at the LBMA, the real thing, sounds like a plan. And that's what they're doing. So, yeah, nobody's playing this month. Let's see. Total contracts delivered 423. I mean, April was the worst. April was, less than 2 million ounces got delivered in April. I mean, I remember 80 million ounces months, 70, 80 million ounces for delivery. And now nobody's using it ever since they instituted the exchange for physical with the LBMA. That's how much coordination it takes to rig the silver market. But yeah, who's playing in this? JP Morgan customer. Wells Fargo took the most, 182 contracts. Who knows what's going on there? And then we have Marex Capital supplied 50, bought 50, took 51, and then supplied 51. I mean, wash trade. It's like nothing is happening on the silver market. There's just nothing happening on the COMEX. Everything's happening at the LBMA, which is gigantic. You can follow Harvey Organ to track that stuff. Okay, here's the silver stockpiles. As you can see, this is the COMEX. This is that entity, the United States entity that trades futures and options, has a delivery function, supposedly. But I've just showed you, nobody's taking delivery anymore. But for some reason, if you look at the COMEX stockpile, is just dwindling. Back at the height of the silver squeeze, and at the beginning of 2021, there was 400 million ounces. Now there's only 273 million ounces in the COMEX warehouses. That's what they tell us. Of course, nobody believes them. But you look at the registered versus eligible. Eligible means somebody's storing their silver in the COMEX warehouse. There's been a lot of talk about that, about taking delivery. It's almost impossible to take delivery. Once you take delivery of a COMEX bar, you're out of their system. So it's a pain in the ass and very expensive to get that bar back in the system. So people just store it at the COMEX facilities. to me, that's kind of like you're getting halfway. It's like kissing your sister. You learned how to kiss, but it's your sister. You're buying silver, but you're leaving it in the hands of the criminals. Yes, take all your physical silver out of the COMEX. Of course, that will be the number one spot that the nationalization will happen. The COMEX and the SLV and CEF, PSLV, they'll all get nationalized wherever that physical silver is sitting. But you can see what happened right here, right at the silver squeeze. Something huge happened. Eligible kind of went flat. It's kind of flat, but registered just took a huge dive. Registered is the stuff that's ready to be delivered. But look at the dive from 150 million ounces all the way down to 27 million ounces. And this will go to zero. It might happen instantly. It usually doesn't go, hey, we're at 26, 25, 24, 23. It'll be all of a sudden there's zero. And the COMEX will shut down. I do expect to see the shutdown before September. And it's just so obvious. Take a look at this chart. This is the 5-year chart of COMEX registered stockpile. Right at 150 million ounces, down to 27 and falling. These are all somebody or certain people, I think it's the good guys, taking delivery of physical silver and getting it out of harm's way, because it's not getting put back into the eligible stocks. That's pretty much even. This is silver leaving the warehouse altogether, which means it'll never go back to the COMEX. Like I said, it's hard to get COMEX bars in there because it costs a lot of money. And here's a good look. COMEX vaulted silver in New York, this specifically in New York, these are tons. And you can see it's just diving. Ever since the 2021, right in here, right between these 2 years, the silver squeeze, something changed. Jenny Moonstone talked about that 2 years ago as it was happening. They're doing something different. The rigging operation is changing. Just 2 weeks ago, she did the same thing. Now it's changing again. And she used the metaphor of the Indiana Jones movie when he's taking the golden skull off the temple thing, and he has to put a bag of sand in its place like that. That's what they're trying to do with the rigging job. They're just trying to remove J.P. Morgan as the main rigger and then put someone else there. But just like in Indiana Jones, it was too much sand, it's going to sink. I mean, it's such a delicate balance. That's why you see like BlackRock taking a huge position in silver shorts, because there's not enough entities to do the silver short. It's all disappearing. So hang on to your hats. Really interesting stuff. There's a bill. House Republicans introduced a bill to remove SEC Chair Gary Gensler and restructure the agency. Now, can a bill like that? I mean, Gensler was put there by Biden. Gensler does the work of his whatever. He's the puppet. Yeah, he's a smart guy. He's also as dark and criminal as they come. He was Hillary Clinton's finance manager during his campaign. He's the one who signed the check for the Steele dossier. Let's not mix words here. Gensler is not your friend. His MIT course on cryptos shows you how smart he is, but also shows you how corrupt he is. He says if you want to start up a crypto company, start by selling half of it to the banksters so that they're on your side, so they don't destroy you. The SEC is the most criminal regulator on the planet. The CFTC is just dumb. The SEC is criminal. So, yeah, they're trying to get this. I don't think the Democrats would vote for it. Well, maybe. There's some positive pro-crypto Democrats. But I don't know. Biden is not really mentally there anymore. That's another thing that's going to happen probably before September is Biden will be gone. Now, will the crazy Kamala be president? It doesn't matter. I mean, you got your weekends with Bernie guy and you got your dense airhead, and neither of them really make decisions. It's just who would embarrass the United States more. And I don't think any of them are pulling the strings behind the scenes at all. So I don't think it matters But this would be interesting if this bill actually went through and they replaced Gensler. I mean, for cryptos, Gensler has been he brought the cryptos up with allowing all the DeFi companies and FTX and all that to flourish, and there's no rule of law, nothing. And then he pulled the plug, all on purpose. This is all on purpose. So that's why the cryptos are down so much, and will continue to go down until they don't. If you're a crypto person that didn't get in the beginning, this is what it feels like to get in. When we got in the beginning of cryptos, we didn't know it'd go crazy. We liked what we saw. We liked the technology. We liked certain types of cryptos. And we took a risk and we got in. This is what it feels like. Buying cryptos now is just like buying Bitcoin when it was $200. It's like, what a fucking crazy idea, but I see how it might work. And then you understand it and you go with it. So yeah, there should be a lot of people buying cryptos right now. But it's real scary. And the people that would buy right now are the ones saying, I told you Bitcoin wouldn't work. I told you the cryptos wouldn't work. Yes, insanity rears its ugly head all the time. So yeah, what would I buy right now? If I was just starting, I'd buy Litecoin number 1, Theta number 2, because I think Litecoin will move up faster. Theta is an application. It's to expand broadband and bring new blockchains to companies and stuff like that. There's a ton of stuff that Theta is amazing for in the future. We got to get past this hump. And I think Litecoin will help you get past that hump. Just like silver is going to help you get past the hump. Bitcoin, yeah, just because it's the first one. The banks, it's so hard to get people to buy cryptos, but when they do, the big smart people, they're going to buy Bitcoin because all their friends have done that and they've done okay. So yeah, I think Bitcoin will fare the best. Litecoin ultimately will, the Litecoin to Bitcoin ratio is way off. It should be 10 to 1 at a minimum. And it's like, I don't even know what it is right now, 300 to 1. Kind of like silver versus gold, same thing. I really think Litecoin and silver will run at the same time as this silver, as the fiat money system breaks down, the control mechanisms. Now, you won't know the price of Litecoin. You won't know the price of Bitcoin. You won't know the price of stocks and bonds or gold or money. When the derivative bubble goes, all exchanges are shut down. That's how crazy we're getting into. All right, for those of you interested in when the banks are going to crash next, keep an eye on the 5-year Treasury. It is the most commonly held, I think it's the most commonly held, 5 or 7, by the banksters. This is what they had the problem with. This is all those unrealized gains that they have. I mean, losses, massive unrealized losses at the end of last year. So at the end of last year, we saw so we had, as of January 1st, 4.0. The Treasury yield was 4.0. And before that, wait, here, let me show you. So here's what they got in trouble with. All right, 1 year. There we go. So it was so this is from the FDIC, and they report this quarterly. And here's what they got in trouble with. It was October. As you can see, back in August, the 5-year was what, 2.6? And then all of a sudden it started running up and running up and running up. As the Treasury yields go higher, the value of the actual bond shrinks. It gets destroyed because people can buy newly issued treasuries and get a higher return than buy your secondary market one that gives you no return. That's the issue. But it got to October where it was 3.8, and then November, December, January. So it was at 4.0. So remember that. Okay, and they lost massive amounts. I mean, these banks are just screwed, and they haven't been able to sell them because once they sell them, they have to take the loss, and they're already weak. People are pulling their deposits out. It is a perfect storm. So the reason they didn't go down in the first quarter for the FDIC is first quarter you started at 4.0, and then January, February, March, so April 1st, it went down to 3.38. So it looked like they were coming back a little bit, the banks. And they're still massively underwater. But since then, all these people pulled out their deposits. Banks are losing money. And by the way, the 5-year has gone up from 3.3 to right now. It's at almost 4, almost back to 4. You see how? So what's going to happen is when the FDIC reports, and they already warned everybody at the end of the first quarter, their quarterly report, it's published like a month and 4 or 5 days after, maybe the 10th. But they say how the banks are doing. And we all know the banks are in chaos, at least in the first quarter, when 2 banks went down, 2 of the biggest banks. But what it did, it subtracted from the overall banking losses. So those are taken care of. We don't have to worry about that. Now we've got the 5-year, the number one asset that these banks are holding, same banks, but there's about 600 of them, and they have lost money again. It's gone from 3.3, it's almost up to 4 again, and the time frame that counts is the end of this month. So if Janet Yellen says we're not going to tighten anymore, you're going to see the yields go up again. And then that means the banks lose more money and more people pull their deposits out. It's a vicious circle. And those people who are taking their deposits have over $250,000, taking it out of the small banks and going to the big guys. The big guys have all the derivatives, by the way. That's the big crash. Probably, I don't know, all summer and then culminating in September. That's my take. Anyway, that's what I got for you at Road-Ruda. Kind of long today. Make sure you go to roadruda.com. Check out the 3 discussions I had with the head of Silver Eagle Sales. You're going to get blown away. It's Bix Weir. I'll talk to you later.